Hello and welcome to EduStudy. In this video lecture, we will discuss class 11's Indian Economic Development, that is the book of Indian Economy. And this is the lesson number 1, and name of the lesson is Indian Economy on the Eve of Independence. And this is the part 1 of the video lecture, and more parts I will upload on next session. So this video is not only for the class 11th student, this is also important for the candidates who are preparing for UPSC exams, APSC exams and various other states public service commission examinations, SSC examinations, banking examination, TET, CTET, railways, defense exams and various other job related exams. This is very important. So before starting, please subscribe the channel. Here you will get the subscribe button, and please subscribe by pressing the subscribe button, and beside the subscribe button you will have the bell icon. Press the bell icon for latest update, latest notification you will get. So let me start. Here I have some summary for the video lecture for the part 1. So here we will discuss low level of economic development under the colonial rule. This is the topic. And second topic here will be agricultural sector under the British colonial rule, and third topic will be industrial sector under the British colonial rule. So these three topics will be discussed on the part 1, that is part 1. So let's go to the first topic. Here the first topic is on your screen. It is low level of economic development under the colonial rule. So here some points are also highlighted. So our first point is the protection and the promotion of the economic interest of Britain than with the development of the Indian economy. And second point here highlighted is transforming India into a net supplier of raw materials and consumer of finished industrial products from Britain. So these two are the highlighted points here. So we have to make our note whenever you are studying. Then you have to make your note for your examination purpose. Then you have to focus on these two highlighted points, then only your note will be completed, and maybe your question answer you will find on these two highlighted topics, highlighted points here. So let me explain all this. So before the advent of the colonial rule, Indian economy was completely independent economy. That means it was not dependent on any other country's economy. So then what happens whenever British rule started in India? And before starting the British rule, we have to tell something here. So before starting the British rule in India, the livelihood of the Indian people was agriculture. That means the prime livelihood was the prime one. You have to keep remember, the prime livelihood was the agriculture. So we have to keep remember this, that was the prime, but not only one. That means that was not the only one livelihood of the Indian people. Okay, it was the prime one but not the only one. So keep it remember. So besides agriculture, various kinds of manufacturing industries were there, like manufacturing of some handicrafts were there, handicrafts of cotton and silk textiles, metal and precious stones. Like this kind of handicrafts were there before the advent of British colonial rule. This should be included here. This is a very important part. So then what happens? Then British came to India. So whenever British came to India, then what happens? They make the policies on the economy of India, and their policies were in favor of the interest of the England's economy. Okay, the policies they make the policy, and those policies were in favor of the economy of the England. Then what happens? Then their main motive of the making those kind of economic policy was to protect and to promote the economic interest of Britain or England than with the development of the Indian economy. That means they did not want to develop the Indian economy, they just want to protect and to promote the economy of Britain. So therefore what happens? India transformed into a net supplier of raw materials and the consumer of finished industrial products from Britain. That means as we tell here, as we discuss here, that before the advent of British rule in India, India was the exporter of finished good. India was the exporter of finished good. That means some exports were cotton textiles, where there, silk textiles were there, and some metal and precious stones were exported from India as a finished good, not as a raw material. Then what happens, whenever British came here after the British rule, that means after the starting of the British rule, then what happens, the raw materials, India became the supplier of raw materials. Only the raw materials were produced here as a result of agriculture. And then what happens, there was the huge demand in Indian economy of the finished product, and those demand were met by the items, the products that were imported from the Britain. And then what happens, India transformed into a raw material supplier to the Britain, and those raw materials were used in the industries in the Britain, and that destroy completely the handicraft industry of India. And then what happens, the artisans were that times, the artisans which were working on the handicrafts industries here, or cottage industries here, they became completely jobless. That means the unemployment problem was arised at time. And then what happens, the per capita income of the Indian people were that was the very low. Okay, that was the very low. But what happens, the per capita income was not counted by the government, British government. Okay, and some individuals were there, those estimated the per capita income, and the name were Dadabhai Naoroji, William Digby, Finlay Siras, VKRB Rao, and RC Desai. These were the people who estimated the national income or the per capita income of Indian people that time, and their notes as their estimation reveals that the Indian people's income or the per capita income was very low that time. So this is all about the first topic. Okay, I hope it's clear for you. You have understood this. Whatever I have tell you, you have to write on your note, and these are also important for your competitive exams. So let's go to the second topic here. So our second topic is here, agricultural sector under the British colonial rule. So as like the first topic of our discussion here, in the second topic also we have some highlighted points. First one is about 85% of the country's population lived mostly in villages and derived livelihood directly or indirectly from agriculture. And second highlighted point here is the some growth due to the expansion of aggregate area under cultivation. Third one here is the various systems of land settlement. And fourth one, commercialization of the agriculture. Then what happens here, as the British rule started, then the agricultural sector, that is the agricultural sector became the only sector that employed the labor force of India. The people of India, they got only the source of their income. And in village, in rural India, more than 85 or about 85 people resides there that time, and all those people were depending on the agriculture that time. No other way, as soon as the British rule started, that time no other way of livelihood was in front of them. So therefore what happens, the only left employment generation sector was the agricultural sector. So then what happens, the 85% people, country's population, they were compelled to depend on the agriculture. Then what happens, the agriculture, though the 85% of people were there on the agricultural sector, but the agricultural sector was experiencing stagnation and frequent deterioration that time. So why it happened at that time? And some growth was there, some aggregate growth was there here, some aggregate growth was there, but that was not due to the labor force, that was due to the expansion of aggregate area under cultivation. That means aggregate area under cultivation was increased after removing the forest, that means the deforestation, that may be, but that was not due to the expansion of the labor force. So then what happens, why the labor force, the large huge number of labor force was used there in the agricultural sector, but the agricultural sector was experiencing the stagnation. What were the causes of the stagnation? Then the causes of the stagnation was, first one was the various system of the land settlement. Land settlement was the various, that was the prominent cause of the stagnation of the agricultural sector at the British rule. Whenever the land settlement system was introduced, that time the first and the prominent one was the land settlement system of the prominent was the zamindari system. You have to keep remember zamindari system. Okay, zamindari system was the prominent one, and the main interest of the zamindar was that time only to collect the rent from the cultivators or from the peasants. Their interest was not on the well-being or the welfare of the peasants or the farmers. Okay, they did not want the welfare, they did not interested in the welfare of the farmers. They just wanted to collect the rent from the farmers, whatever their income was there or not, whatever the production was there or not, they did not consider those points, just only they wanted to collect the rent. That was the impact of the land settlement system, that is the zamindari system. Keep it remember. And the zamindars did not pay attention to the irrigation facilities, and there was the negligible use of fertilizer. All these were the major reason behind the stagnation of the agricultural sector that time. Keep all these points remember, all these are very important. And the commercialization of the agriculture was there also, but this commercialization of the agriculture creates the cash crop that time. Cash crop, that means they cultivated indigo cultivation was there, opium cultivation was there, and all this cultivation and all this commercialization of the agriculture benefited the British only, the British government only. That did not benefited the Indian farmers. Okay, that was in favor of the British only. So the commercialization was not for the Indian farmers, that was for the British. Okay, so this was the agricultural sector under the British rule. Keep all this remember. I hope it's clear for you. Now let's come to the next topic, third topic, that is, and the last topic of the video. This is the industrial sector under the British colonial rule. Here also some highlighted points, we have some highlighted points here. First one here is the handicraft industries declined. Second was systematically decentralizing India. And third one, during the second half of the 19th century, modern industry began to take root in India. And fourth one is capital goods industry to help promote further industrialization in India. And fifth one is the generation of a large export surplus. So these are some points here we have. So let's discuss on these points, highlighted points. First one here, handicraft industries, that means the world famous handicraft industry of India was the world famous. Handicraft was world famous in India. And handicraft industries, they declined the handicraft industries as because of the various British policies, various British economic policies. And as I told you in the starting of the video, that British wanted to make India as the exporter of the raw materials and importer of the British finished good. So therefore they wanted to finish the Indian fine handicraft and cottage industry, and finally they destroyed it. And then systematically deindustrializing India, and the motive behind systematically deindustrializing India was, first one, they wanted to make India as the exporter of raw material, and they wanted a market in India. Okay, they wanted a market in India for their finished good. That means they will produce goods in England and those goods will be sell in Indian market. And as because that time in Indian market there was the huge demand as because of the ruin of the handicraft industry or the cottage industry, therefore they got the market here, and in the Indian market they could sell their products, and whenever they wants the raw material they take all those raw materials from India and finally they make the finished products in England, and again they will import all these finished product to India and they will sell here in a great profit. That means they will get the profit from India anyhow. Okay, and then no corresponding modern industries were established here in India. That means they completely destroyed the handicraft industries here in India, but in place of handicraft industries they could establish here the modern industries, but that was not taken, that step was not taken by the British government. And some policies of systematically deindustrializing were going on that time, as I tell you that one. And two primary motives were there. First one was the exporter, they wanted to make India as the exporter of the raw materials, and second one was that they wanted to make India the sprawling market for their finished goods. Okay, and what happens, second half of the 19th century some modern industries were began to take root in India. Some textile industries were there in Gujarat. Okay, some textile industries were some in there Gujarat and Maharashtra, and these textile industries were in the hands of Indian, and some jute industries were also established in Bengal that time, and those jute industries were in the hands of foreigners. So those were the some modern industries in second half of the second half of the 19th century, I'm sorry. And iron and steel industries were established in 20th century in India, and there was an industry named Tisco, and this time also Tisco is there, and it was established in 1907 in India. Keep it, remember, this is important. And there were no capital goods industries. That means British government did not want to promote the capital goods industries. That means capital goods industries are those industries which produce the machine that are required to produce other goods. Okay, and those kind of industries were not established here in India by the British government. And the generation of a large export surplus, whenever we talk about this, that time we have to keep remember that large export surplus was there, but the GDP was not increased. Okay, the GDP was not increased that time, just large export surplus was there. This is just only to show the Indian people that British government is making welfare in India, but that was the motive behind that export surplus was just only to import some goods from England. So this is all about the industrial sector under the British colonial rule. I hope it's clear for you, you have understood this, and this is all about the class 11's economics book, and I hope this video will be beneficial for you. If you think so, then please like the video, share the video, and comment on the video whatever you find here any confusion. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day, have a well preparation. Thanks a lot again.